Most developers have no idea how to get hired remotely. I made a free training showing you the exact steps. Unlock it for free in the description. Now you already know what an exception is. We are going to simulate some of them. Alright, in Python we have like 70 exceptions mapped. You don't need to know every one of them, each one of them. You just need to know how they work and the most common ones. Alright, and if you are thinking that this topic is boring, remember, decades ago programming languages didn't tell the programmer what happened when the code was broke. So the programmer by himself needed to check line by line of the code to try to identify what misses. So it's way easier for us to code nowadays because programming languages already have mapped the most common error causes, and when it happens, the language itself tells us, and that makes way easier to fix the problem, right? So let's simulate the most common. The first one is the syntax error. So if I write a code that is not correctly written based on the syntax rules of the programming language, especially in Python, first, my Visual Studio Code is going to tell me marking with this red mark, right? If you're using PyLint, as I am, PyLint is going to tell me that my file has a problem. And if I put my cursor in this line, PyLint is going to tell me the reason of this red mark, like this. Right? It is telling me. But even if I didn't use PyLint, if I try to run this code, you're gonna see that Python tells me that we have a syntax error, and it also tells me exactly what happened. My parenthesis was never closed. You might be thinking that it's easy to know what is breaking because you can see, but remember, here you have one line of code. In professional applications, you have thousands of lines of code spread to thousands of files, spread into thousands of Python files, you know? So this is a way to identify the error. And if you know the basic ones like syntax error, it is easier for you to identify, alright? And syntax error does not happen only with opening parentheses and never closing. It happens like, for example, if age equals 18, the classic example, if age is greater than 18, greater or equals than 18, the person can drive, right? Can drive. But what if I forgot this column here? If I try to run this file, syntax error, expected column, and I can see where's the red mark and see that I forgot the column. This example usually happens with people that code in many programming languages, and we end up mixing up the syntax patterns of all of them, you know, so it can happen. Alright, so syntax error is going to be raised every time you make a mistake about the syntax of your code. Another good example, and that usually happens, is the indentation indentation error. You can see that, for example, inside of if we have a space here, right, to identify what is going to happen inside of this block. So if this is true, what's inside of this is going to run, right? If I make this mistake of not putting the right indentation, we are going to have the indentation error here. Expected and indented block after if statements. One of the great things about the exceptions also is that they usually tell us exactly where the error that causes that exception was made, you know. So here you can see indentation error, expected and indented block after if. That's the reason of the error. And we can see, you're probably not seeing because my camera is in front of it, but here in my console I can see that is on line 4. So I can see exactly what line the error is happening. Alright? So the indentation error is pretty common. It's also another error that is pretty common. Let's write another type of code that it needs to be indented in order to run properly. So while age is greater than 17, input what's your, how old are you? How old are you? You know, we have fixed this indentation, but this indentation now is not right. And if I try to run, we're gonna see that we're going to have again the indentation error, but now on line 7. Oh, I forgot to press tab. Now it is going to work. So this is the indentation error. But let's move on because we have many ones. Let's now move on to the name error. This error happens when you forget to assign a value to a variable. You only declare the variable like age and you forget to put a value inside of it. You cannot do this in Python. So print age. If I try to run this file, you're gonna see that we have a name error. So name age is not defined. So every time I declare a variable, I need to initialize this variable, assigning a value to this variable. So age 30. Now we don't have the name error anymore. All right, pretty simple. If you declare a variable and forget to assign a value to it, you're going to face the name error. Another common error is the type error. This you already know. If I put my age as string 30 and I try to increment to make a calculation using this data, like age plus equals 1, age like this, we are going to have a type error, right? Because you can only concatenate string with string. That means if both were strings, it works not exactly as we wanted because we have this value here. So it's concatenating the data, it is putting one after other and not making an addition, right? But if I have these two types of data and I try to run, we are going to have the type error because I'm trying to make an addition using a string 30 and an int 30. You know that this is not possible. Both of them must be int or any other number like float. So in this case it works, but in this case it is going to raise an exception called type error. The next one that I want to show you is the zero division. Talking about mathematics, can you divide a number by 0? Of course not. So if we try to divide 10 by 0 and print division here, division, we are going to see that you're going to have our zero division error. Basically, we're trying to divide a number by 0, and this doesn't exist, right? So in this case, now we have our code running normally. But if I try just to change this data, we're gonna see that we are going to have the zero division error exception raised. Let's see some other common exceptions. I guess these are the basic ones. We have some exceptions when you use some more advanced data structures as list, for example. So fruits, apple, orange, and peach. One exception that can happen when you're using lists is the index error. And if you don't know about indexes, I'm going to show you right now how they work. So this is a list, right? If I try to print the first position of this list, I wanna know what is the first fruit on my list, right? So I can put the name of the list here, open and close square brackets, and put the number of the position that I want. Okay, you're probably thinking that in this case I have to put 1, right? Because the first position. But when we are talking about indexes, the first position is always 0, all right? Always 0. So fruits 0. If I run this code, we're gonna see that I'm going to have the first fruit of my list printed. Pretty simple. So you can forget this and put 1, and when you run, you're gonna see that you're getting the second position, and this is normal, don't worry, okay? But the problem happens when you put a number that doesn't exist. So we have 3 fruits, right? 0 is the first one, 1 is the second one, and 2 is the third one. What happens if I put 3 here? Index error. List index out of range. That means that the position that I tried to access doesn't exist. But I can see here we have 3 fruits. So I'm going to put 3 because I want to get the third one, right? No, because when you are talking about lists, the first position is 0. So if the first is 0, the second is 1, the third is 2, right? The last position is 2. Working normally. If I put any number that doesn't have any value, you're going to have the index error. The position you're trying to access doesn't have anything inside of it, so you cannot access. Alright? This is pretty common and is one of the most common errors when you are talking about lists. Alright? And to finish our examples, let's talk about the key error, because if we had an example using lists, we should have an example using dictionaries, right? So let me convert this list to a dictionary of prices, right? We have the prices of each fruit here. So apple is 1.58, orange is 2.03, and peach is 4.00, right? You can also get the values of a key, because you already know that this is the key and this is the value, right? Key value pairs, the structure of a dictionary, right? You can also try to access like this. Fruits, open and close square brackets, and between quotes the name of the key you are trying to access its value. The same way that with lists you can access the position using the index number, with dictionaries you can access the value putting the key. Alright, so let's print, and you're going to have the value of the orange. Alright, but what if I put here some fruit that I thought that existed but doesn't exist? Because here is simple. I'm seeing right now the dictionary, right? But I could not be seen. This data could be getting access through an API, for example, something that we're going to see in the future, through a database, for example, something that you're also going to see in the future, right? So I know that this object fruits has many fruits and each fruit has a price. So I'm going to get the price of the grape, right? No, because there's no grape in my dictionary. The key that I try to use to get the value does not exist. Alright, so this is another type of exception in Python. Alright, so these are the most common ones, the most basic ones, but remember, in Python we have like 70 exceptions mapped. Nowadays, in the moment that you are watching this video, probably we are going to have more exceptions mapped. I don't know, it can happen. Alright, so you don't need to know each one that exists, but you need to know at least the basic ones and know how to identify an exception raised by Python when it happens in your code. I've been working remotely for 7 years, and I created a free training teaching you how to get hired as a remote developer. Unlock it for free in the description.